Each week we have a technical hitch, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. We have Andre. Is this right now? Yes, Andre, it is right now. You are live with us now on YouTube. We are streaming to YouTube, Facebook, and to Hypnosis Anywhere Facebook group. So if you can hear me and the sound is okay, then Natasha Stanley, second comment. You're slipping, Natasha. You were beat tonight by Andre. Richard Cole is here as well. Good day from Canada A. Richard is our official representative from Canada normally, but tonight we have some more. That's brilliant. Boris, if you're watching, I've just lost your feed, so hopefully you can jump back in again. Oh, he has done that. That's absolutely fine. So tonight's guest, lots of people jumping on now. Knock, knock. Roy Miller says, good evening. Jeff Benning says, hi there. Absolutely wonderful. So tonight's guest has many, when I say many, many awards, he has hundreds of awards. Let's just go through a couple of these now. Global Guru, top 30 motivational speaker for at least 4 years in a row, Entertainer of the Year, Global Leader, Hypnotist of the Year, and more television appearances than I have ever seen, from the Robert Irvin Show, Howie Mandel Show, Maori Comics, Montel, The Vegas Show, The Casino, and TED Talks as well. This guy is a legend within the hypnosis community, and it seems like each week we're bringing you some absolutely great, diverse stage performers and top-level hypnotists. Jason Morgan says, nice to see you've made the effort tonight. Jason, I've had to make the effort tonight because we have a superstar as a guest. So guys, make sure you ask good questions from these people, because these are truly, real professionals that have walked the walk, talked the talk. They've been there through the trenches and worked themselves up into being international, successful performance hypnotists. And tonight's guest is no different. So I'm going to play my little graphic. Then after that, please have your questions ready. And please make Boris Cherniak feel very, very welcome. It is fantastic to have you, Boris. Oh, let me just, sorry, there we go. I didn't press the button. Boris should appear. There, is he there? He is there. Is it good afternoon or good evening where you are, Boris?
Oh, the other way. How are you? I'm actually traveling at this point in time. I'm in, just north of Montreal, taking a little bit of time off before we all get back to hopefully the new normal, where people are coming out to see the shows and doing everything live and in person.
Yes, absolutely. It's been very strange for on every level of performers. From I have some magician friends that again were incredibly busy, and then overnight just nothing. How was your last show before? Because none of us knew it was going to be our last show. How was your last show before COVID?
My last shows were amazing. I was actually gearing up to get on the road. When COVID hit, I just got back in from traveling, and literally the last show was on the Monday, and we got closed down on Friday. The show was in Niagara Falls, Canada. Nice. But just straight afterwards, I was supposed to be in India, Singapore, and Bali. And I'm looking up just because I'm trying to remember what's written on the top of my brain. Yeah, that did not happen. Neither one of those shows materialized. And I guess it's been going on for a while, but I'm ready to get back. And things are picking up, mostly on the global scale. Everybody's ready to be back.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see that most countries seem to be opening up a similar type of level now. I mean, I see in some states in the US, everything seems normal. But, as far as the rest of the world's going, everything seems to be opening at the same level. So hopefully we can almost flick that switch and go near enough back to how it was before, which will be really good.
Right. I myself am waiting for the borders to open up because I work both Canada and US. So as soon as the borders are open, they actually are closed still, so a matter of me going back and forth on both sides of the border in Canada and US.
Strange question.
There's no such thing, but go on.
Yeah. Is there a difference of hypnotizability between Australian, American audiences and Canadian audiences?
Both audiences are very similar. Americans a lot of times are, well, depends where you are. Every place has its own issue. I did a lot of work with the military who are familiar with the way things work as far as getting and giving commands. So I found them to be a little bit easier to work with in comparison to just a regular audience that's there to, okay, entertain me. You get a difference in the audience that way. But other than that, a good performer adapts to what's in front of them. So it's a matter of taking what they're giving and then giving it back tenfold and just feeding off of the energy that comes back at you.
Yeah. It's a great word, is that energy. I used to kind of shy away from the woo-woo, but there really is an energy in a room and an energy in an audience that can make or break a show. You mentioned then about the military. And I mean, you were flown out to Afghanistan to entertain the troops as well. How was that?
They were amazing. I've been to Afghanistan twice, Kuwait, I think 6 times. And it's one of the most gratifying experiences you will ever imagine, just because at first you think of yourself as a performer. Look, I'm there to give you, but then you realize that these people give up everything. And I worked for allied troops, so it's not just Canada, US, or anybody else. Everybody's all together, and they each represent their own region. So there were people from England, from Australia, from Canada. I actually, oh, you're Canadian. We have 6 guys from Canada on this base. And so I would get the different information from them, but nobody gets a chance to entertain them and give them a little bit of that motivation and pick me up. So that when I came, I had one attitude. When I left, I had a completely different attitude, that these people are selflessly giving up their lives, some of them, for my freedom. So I'm completely thankful, and don't really realize to what extent until you're right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll give you a great met a beautiful girl who was on my stage. Her name is Ashley. She just recently got married and is doing fantastic, but was one of the stars on my stage. And afterwards got a chance to talk to her. So what do you do? Oh, I'm a chaplain's assistant. Oh, okay. What does a chaplain's assistant do? Her job is to deliver the news home when somebody dies.
Oh.
So that's when it really hit home for me, when you realize to what extent it's not just about, oh, I'm there to do this. I'm there for you. And that's why people say, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. To me, that really hit home at that point in time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, all our troops do an absolutely amazing job. Moving on. We always kind of like to start at the beginning. We've got a couple of questions as well from Carl Barmer. Carl, we will get to your questions in a minute, but we don't going to go straight to the pudding. We need to start at the starters as such. So, Boris, what was your first experience with hypnosis or stage hypnosis? How were you introduced to the craft?
I was really not introduced to it. I was taking a lot of night courses, and I was an incredibly avid reader, where I had access to the library at York University, which was close enough to me, and picked up a book, which I thought, okay, this sounds interesting. You grab a book, and that book literally changed my life. The book was The Search for Bridie Murphy, a guy named Maury Bernstein that regresses a lady past her birth, and she becomes somebody else. That character is Bridie Murphy. So the whole session is recorded, and the gentleman happens to want to verify if any of these things are true, and they happen to be true. That's how the book ends, and I needed to know more. Finished that book in literally one sitting, one night. I still remember my mom coming into my room at 2, 3 in the morning. You're still reading? Yeah, I'm almost finished. And I finished that book in one night, and then I needed to know more. And everything on psychology, hypnosis, in that very library. And back then we had books rather than access to the internet. I read all of those books, the dry theory of hypnosis to this is what you can do with stage hypnosis. And the first person I ever tried this on was my brother. The biggest thing that shocked me at the time was I did the hand levitation, where you have a little balloon attached to your hand, and the hand went up in the air. That scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Wow, this stuff really works, because I was a skeptic. I'd be the first one to say it's all full of crap. Who do you think you are? This does not exist. So for me, it was a matter of proving to me, but I was young, and it was something to try at teenage parties.
Mm.
And that made me different. I'd always make a joke that I learned hypnosis to learn how to pick up chicks. Right?
Didn't we
The
all?
girls are what it's all about. The opposite sex was the right place at the right time. Except I found it so intriguing that every time I did a presentation, it taught me a little bit more about the craft. And eventually, at one of those parties, and this is how I started, literally, a kid whose father owned the nightclub said, "Oh, my dad owns a place, and they're looking for entertainment. Would you be able to do this?" And okay, people are willing to pay me, and that was not a lot. I think it was $50 or $150. I can't remember to this day. I cashed the check, but that was my first experience as being a performer, and I wrote a whole bunch of material at that point in time. But after about 20 minutes of me performing, I ran out of material.
Wow.
So I repeated the same thing about 3 times.
Wow.
And it was funnier the second time around. So you learn the way things work, and how to present it by fire, if you like. So it was funnier the second time around. So I learned how to use callbacks over and over, just by not having enough material. So I ended up writing a whole bunch more each time that I performed. Right, I did not have anybody mentoring me at the time, so every time I performed, I would write a brand new show. I guess that's my claim to fame, is I have so much material because I just kept writing until I finally figured out that the audiences were coming at me saying, "I came to see this routine, and you didn't do it." So you figure out what your signature bits are when the audience members are starting to follow you and figure out that something stuck in their mind way after the fact and wanted to see it again. So a routine becomes specifically yours, and those are the few bits that I carry with me to this day.
So Richard Cole, a fellow Canadian, wants to know, what year did you start performing?
Well, my first paid appearance was in 1982. So this year marks 4 decades in show business.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank
you don't look like you've got 4 decades in it.
It's all the fake face. No, there's no such thing. But I love every second of it. I found a passion, which was a hobby, that became my job. I did not start as a hypnotist. This literally was a hobby where how can I put this mildly? My parents wanted me to graduate college, university, and move on with knowledge. So I took up computer programming and analysis, and went through. Yet I ended up figuring out that the two can be combined together, because I relay the message now on stage that your mind is a computer that can be programmed and reprogrammed. I didn't even realize at the time that fit somehow, and they both connected.
Brilliant. Quite weirdly as well that you mentioned the Search for Bridie Murphy. I actually still have a first edition copy of that, where the dust cover for it is it's in absolute tatters, but it's the one I actually have on my shelf next to my computer on my office desk. It's a fascinating book as well. So
fascinating read. You're absolutely right.
So tell us about your early day challenges. We all have these shows that we'd sooner forget, but the things where we learn the most from, the either mistakes that we've made or challenges or unusual things that's happened on stage that's kind of made you, get a new understanding or a new learning from that.
Right. Okay, I'll tell you something Interesting. Everybody talks about success stories. I'll tell you the one that was not a success story.
Yes.
Same York University had a talent show at approximately the same time frame, maybe a year or two later when I started. So I was still young and green and did not know any better. And they had you audition beforehand, so I actually showed up at the audition, hypnotized somebody, had them do a whole bunch of funny and interesting things, and I was told, "You're in. We're going through. Everything is fine." So that was the show. I would call my coming out show. As far as I invited my friends, my parents, anybody who did not know but heard that I might have been performing at the time. Got invited to this specific performance. And when they were introducing me, we decided that you only have so much time on stage. You will pick people before a little time, and then we'll bring you on once everybody's hypnotized. Sounds good, no problem. So I picked people out and was taking them to the green room. The green room was very far in the auditorium. So by the time I got there, there was a knock on the door. They're about to announce you. Okay, I heard the words that the show must go on. I'll continue on stage. So I bring people back on stage, and nobody was hypnotized at the time, nor did they want to get hypnotized, nor were they willing to be hypnotized, but they were there to see if anything would work on them. And I had a prize routine at the time, which I still remember. It was a commercial of two twins standing side by side in a white shirt with the hands on their hips, saying, "I can't see the difference. Can you see the difference?" Because the two shirts were washed in different detergents. Right. So anytime I would, the detergent was ABC. And anytime I would say the words ABC, people would supposedly jump up, put their hands on their hips and scream out, "I can't see the difference. Can you see the difference?" That was my prize routine that I wrote to be the center of the show. I did that routine, and nobody stood up, said anything, did anything whatsoever. The people were looking around. The funny thing happened at the time. The audience felt sorry for me. So I had people standing up in the audience doing the same gesture of what I just explained would happen.
Brilliant.
Saying, "I can't see the difference, you see the difference." But not one, a whole bunch all over the audience.
Brilliant.
At that point in time, I went really red because my stage time was already up, and said, "I hope you can see me another time," and walked off the stage. So yes, there's going to be disappointments. There's always going to be disappointments. But as far as a performer, I almost quit at that point in time.
Yeah.
But the people saw that I was good and delivered on stage more than anybody else was doing at the time. And I was encouraged. I was pushed. You are really good. So go ahead and go find yourself another date. We'll come and support you again. And don't forget, this is teenagers hanging out together, saying, "I really like what you did the last time. Let's do this again." So I kept going.
Brilliant.
So if you ever are faced with disappointments, don't listen to that little devil on your shoulder, because the ones that succeed are the ones that are going to drive you, and there's always going to be one or two disappointments.
Yeah,
whether you like it or
I
not.
think for me, success is about consistency. It's about when you have that bad show, and you then get back up on stage and have another show, and hopefully you've learned from it, and hopefully things get better, and you just keep doing that and chipping away. So yeah, I've had lots of times when I kind of think it would be easier to do something else, but that's when it gets easy, when you know it's not, when you can get through that. And that's a testament to the rapport with the audience, that the audience are kind of on your side with that as well. So yeah, brilliant. Television appearances, you have done a lot. Obviously that has a massive impact on bookings. Tell us about the first TV show you got involved with. Did you have to audition for that?
Well, TV shows, I did not really have to audition for a lot earlier on. As you travel, you have to do media. the place will arrange some kind of an interview for you, whether it's 6 in the morning or I'll tell you a schedule that we went through when we were traveling. And by we, there's always an opening act, there's whoever is involved. But a lot of times you would do 2, 3, 4 radio stations in the morning, maybe a TV station. Then you would that would be morning TV and radio. Then you do the noon hour. Or possibly an afternoon drive radio show. And then afterwards, you do 3 shows that night. So as far as amassing experience, that's not a problem. But that gives, well, at least gave me the ability to figure out that you have to be on. And just like what we did beforehand, how long do you think this will last? The reason I ask, because I know when to start, when to end, when to finish. Oh, you've got 6 minutes. You're on, right? And a lot of times you'd better be on, because if the information continues after they finish taping, I think whatever you say does not get on the air. So you have to cram, if you like, as much as you can and be as consistent as what they're expecting, and leave something behind so that people are talking and remember you as well. Right? That's how initially a lot of the shows got sold out. Why? Because if they don't know about something, they can't show up. And if somebody, oh, I heard this guy on the radio, you got to see this. Oh, he's only in town until the end of the week at this place. Right? So you learn to even work the name of the place into maybe a funny routine.
It's I think it's so important to make the venue booker remember you, and do everything you can to market the show. It's so easy to kind of go, oh, here's my poster, and then expect the hordes of people to buy tickets, and it doesn't happen that way. And it cost me a lot of money to learn that in the early days. You've got to be out there pushing and selling and marketing. And I think that's the majority part of kind of what we do and what you do. The marketing is what gets the bums on seats.
Well, and also consistency. If you deliver, one of my gimmicks, literally, and I'll be completely honest on this one, I have so much material that no matter how many times you see me, I'll stick something else in that you were not even expecting was going to be there. Why? Because I try to amuse me. So it's not necessarily just for the audience, but earlier on, I kept writing and writing and writing, and creativity is something that is the only thing I can claim that is completely mine as far as hypnosis is concerned. I just learned how to hypnotize. What I did, I infused me and my sense of humor into the routines and told the story while I was on stage. That's all it is. So when I'm telling that story, it's a matter of leaving a person wanting more. But at first, I used to do really long shows too. When I kept writing, I holiday in Brampton, one of my first regular shows, where they had me there every Sunday or every second Sunday. I can't remember how often that was at this point. We're talking over 30 years ago. But I wrote a brand new 4-hour show each time. So to the point where I infused the shows where everything else, I would learn a song on a guitar. I would bring that guitar along with me and would play behind the scenes while the audience was doing something else. So just a matter of infusing different points of view to something. And like I said, people would come and ask me, I wanted to see this routine again, but you didn't do it. Oh, okay, I'll do it next week. So they come back and the audiences grow because of it. So I just kept writing and writing and writing. So now I keep interchanging material where I would have literally a skeleton of different routines that I intend to do and throw something in as the moment demands it.
Yeah. Now, do you do that because of the volunteers you've got on stage? Do you kind of go, oh, I know that this person's going to be great for that skit? And Carl Barmer has kind of asked a question that kind of relates to that. You know, how do you just select the people for the skits, and how do you select your volunteers as such?
I don't. I really don't select volunteers. They select themselves just by what they're exhibiting. At this point in time, I'm a really good judge of reading body language,
Mm.
where I can pick up what a person is capable of before they even do what I command as far as part of the routine. So a suggestion would be given, and if you like, there's test suggestions that will bring me to giving them a specific instruction.
Yeah, yeah. What's your what at the moment? What is your favourite type of skit? I'm a big fan of the. I like to see when a volunteer is struggling with a suggestion, whether it be something vocal. I know some people love the big dancing routines. What's your favourite type of routine?
Oh, me personally, I like to compound suggestions. And
Mm,
earlier on, I created a character on stage that is particularly me. I'm not a forceful hypnotist. I'm the guy that is completely oblivious as far as the audience can see what's going on stage. And most of the stuff happens behind my back to the point where I will compound the routines, meaning one thing will lead into another, will
mm,
lead into another until I'm not even involved. There was a little the there was a skit I did a long time ago, which got me uh, sort of blackballed by an agent, but on purpose. The routine was uh, basically a TV show because I used a lot of TV themes on stage, and the TV show was the Arsenio Hall show, where it's a chat show. If I'm trying to use your jargon, a talk show for the North Americans
yeah,
that had guests on, and the simplicity of everybody from Madonna, Michael Jackson. Those would be the characters as far as celebrities coming onto the show. But the host would be Arsenio Hall, along with a bunch of the security guys. Right, I created that whole entourage. But
nice.
I would walk by the host constantly, and off the microphone would tell him, "I'm ruining your show." So I would walk back and I'm ruining your show. I'm ruining your show. Eventually, the funny part was, or at least to me, that the host gets the security guard to take me off the stage, but the show goes on without me. So to me, that was sort of enticing. Can the show keep going? So the agent me from the buster, somehow I lost control. They weren't able to see past what I created.
Mm,
So I saw that I was able to fool an agent who was in the business for a long time with this quirky character that seemingly did not know what the heck they were doing. So I started writing for that character. So now a lot of stuff on stage is not a forceful hypnotist, but more like an absent-minded guy that everything happens behind my back and I'm oblivious to it. So that's the part that I create, but I find it almost exciting to fool the audience in that way because they're
mm.
in on the joke already anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's great to have that stage persona as well, and so it does put the audience kind of on your side because you're not this guy coming on being like I am the almighty, all powerful. It's kind of it brings them, the in England we love an underdog, so by having that personality on stage, yeah, it kind of warms them to you. So that's really clever. Is that you talk then about the stories that you do? So in your show, is that what you do? Are you a storyteller? Do you weave the show within
Oh,
a story
completely.
frame, or are you one of these guys that just bangs out different skits? How do you work it?
The way I write material is actually kind of interesting. Every bit fits into another bit, so you
No.
can almost interchange them. And the story, I'm sure you have seen hypnotists that will have isolated routines. So you might as well take this routine and this routine and this routine, where um, the there's no continuity. There might be a little segue, but to me, it does not make sense.
Yeah.
I try to have different parts of the show specifically. There's one part in the show that I will take 10, 15 minutes and get the people on stage to interact with the audience, because they're not just watchers, they have to be a part of what's going on. And so I will send the whole committee into the audience to do different skits along with them that have been specifically written to get people to interact. That's a little bit more difficult now, but it does not make a difference as far as the distancing is concerned. There's ways, perfect example, I'll get people to twist with the people in the audience. Why? Because they feel like they're part of the show.
Yeah.
So that part, and everything is interwoven to the point where the callback from an earlier bit would be inserted into this one, and it's even funnier because they don't even know they're doing it, but it's funnier to the audience. So it's compound laughter to the point where if you go too strong, you have to let the audience rest before you give them the bigger part to laugh at or with.
And callbacks, I mean, I was performing for years and I never used them. But I just find them, they're so powerful, because like you said, the second or third or fourth time that happens, it just increases the audience's reaction on a callback. Andre has said he's got a quick question for you over on YouTube, and he's asked you, what is your favorite skit?
Oh, I have many, but my signature one is every hypnotist has people forget the names. So earlier on, I decided that instead of having people just forget their names, I gave them a different name. And I actually referred to a person on my stage as a specific name, which is usually Chip. However, I'm incredibly absent-minded. So all the way throughout the whole performance, I will call them a different name, but what they think that their name is. And it's almost a trademark at this point in time, where people know that if I do something, that chances are the name Chip would be involved. And there's all of the different parts of down to the audience chanting the wrong name while the guy's running into the audience.
Brilliant.
Like I said, it's all interwoven, and there's ways to play with the dynamic of what's going on. I just absolutely love how you can do stuff with almost meaningless material and make it bigger than life. So that's one of mine, and I absolutely love it. I actually do talk about a throwaway line, and you as a performer may notice it once in a while. If you ever see me and you see me doing this one line, you know I'm having more fun than anybody else in the room, because if I take the name and I talk to somebody else and I'm talking about somebody, perfect. Not a monk on stage. Would that be a chipmunk? You're absolutely right. Or there might be a chip on your shoulder. So that's what I do. I weave that in. But the funny line to me is when I talk to somebody else, not the character that I call Chip on stage. I deal with them, and we talk about it. And how about Chuck? Do you think Chuck would appreciate it? The real Chip will pipe up. No, not you, a friend of mine. And I move on completely straight from that without ever referencing anything else. So that to me is basically a throwaway line that tells me that, yes, I've achieved that effect where they know the exact moment to pipe up.
Brilliant. And it's such a great way to do it. And for people that are new to stage hypnosis, they get so caught up in the actual hypnotizing or the actual skit that they don't realize that a lot of the magic, the performance, the theater comes from all those little bits you were talking about then, of how you can take a situation, get the audience involved, and make it larger than life, and get a better reaction.
Taking yourself seriously. I honestly, I found hypnosis by mistake, and I never expected to be a hypnotist, never wanted to be a hypnotist. It found me, but as far as I find if you remove, and you will see that I won't be the first one to point it out, there's a lot of ego in the profession.
Yeah.
If you take out the ego and take out the part where you take yourself seriously, or that you are lighthearted and are having fun, I started having more fun when it wasn't about making money. It wasn't about uh, getting ahead. When I just did what I wanted on stage, and how,
Yeah.
and let's see how we can mold the moment.
Yeah.
And thankfully, at the time, we were doing by the way, I came up the ranks in the comedy clubs. And at that point in time, between comedians and I think the 3, 4, 5 hypnotists that were doing all of this stuff, we were doing a lot of shows. The average week would be at least one show a night. On Thursday, there would be two, Friday, three, Saturday, three, two on Sunday. So you actually learn what you have applied in the previous show to this one. I played around with it, whether I would speak faster or speak slower to get the audience on my level. I sometimes would want to be almost like a ventriloquist, where I would uh, mumble my words to see if the audience would get it, just because I could. Uh, we moved on to the new city. I played a different character on stage, so I could experiment with what worked better and what wouldn't work.
Yeah.
To the point where I want to be loud and obnoxious to the. I am a little guy that let me see what I can do. When you figure that out, you are able to find that character that is specifically you. Thankfully, I was able to find that character early enough, and that's only from being on stage so much. You mentioned in the advertisement before, I did over 10,000 shows. This is 40 years. For probably about 25, 30 of them, I was doing over 300 shows a year.
Wow.
This is actually paid shows, not on publicity on top of that. If you count those, there's way too many. So if you do the math, the whole word with when you get to 10,000 shows, or 10,000 hours at something, you're doing well. And you actually know your craft. Well, I've just imagine the number of shows, most of them 60 to 90 minutes. So that adds up. And that's the only thing. Stage time for me was probably the most amazing experience that I could find, just because you take the experience from here, you move it on to the next one and see how you can improve it.
Yeah, I think it's the most important thing. The more you do, the better you become. You more get to practice it. Richard Cole says 300 shows a year. Wow. And we've got a couple of questions.
Richard is a wonderful guy. Richard, hello, big.
Richard is a great guy. Carl Bauman says, are there any fictional aspects of hypnotism commonly portrayed in the media that annoy or frustrate you?
See, I've done a ton of media, so I understand how it works. Even the reality shows that are real, it's not quite that. It's a matter of some need to know what to do. I recently did a TV show where I flew in on a Monday. It did not tape till I think Friday. And you discuss what's going to happen and deal with something called blocking, where the camera guy needs to know where you're going to stand and why you're going to stand there, so that you are not blocking the camera and are stepping aside, so the director knows that you need to shoot it from a specific angle, and the audio guy knows when to make you louder or softer at that point in time, because there's also a person that's yelling and screaming that cannot be on the air, some kind of a producer that wants a specific routine to get on the air, because we have discussed so much more than actually gets to be cut down on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. A couple of questions as well. Andre says, any tips on how to shorten the time it takes to get volunteers into trance when time is essential?
Oh, one word: edit. And I used to I'm a little hard on my show that way. Would videotape the shows earlier and watch them. Specifically, if you can watch yourself over and over again and see what you did right and what you did wrong, is you can sell something that's completely unfunny in a funny way, whether that gesture that was bigger or a facial expression will be able to relate something wonderful or something completely horrible to an audience you didn't even realize. So when you watch yourself from the audience's point of view, that's what I did. I did a specific watch of, if I was in the audience, would I enjoy that? Even my routines. There's shows that are clean, shows that are dirty. I chose material along with the character that suited specifically what I was doing. And it was oddly enough clean, but I see Andre putting not to you, but on again. I always work clean. That doesn't mean that I didn't go through stages of trying out material that, we all have, you're a stripper, you're this, but knowing how to take it and what to do with it. It did not fit my character. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. It just means it did not fit me, nor I found that laughter that came with it was the same laughter that I was going after. Right, there's the clean way and the dirty way, and what you sift through, and how does it relate to the rest of the performance. That's what I was trying to control. And for me, working clean put me on television. That's all I can say about it. But I will be the first one to say, "Oh, that's a great routine," but it may not be for my performance.
Yeah. Natasha Stanley says, with doing 300 shows a year, were you able to be more selective about the shows you chose to do? Or was there a good mix between big performances and smaller clubs as such?
Oddly enough, I was young, not knowing any different. Eventually, the performance, I would take anything that was offered to me at the time. I started out where I sent out, this is going back when we had videotapes, VHS tapes that you would send along with a bunch of photocopied material, an agent, a booker, or whoever would be interested in putting you on. That would be sent over, and 2 weeks later you give them a call. Have you gotten a chance to see this? So for me, what happened, I was show on the highway in November, and I hit a patch of ice and the car flipped. Point in time, the insurance company gave me a bunch of money for the van that I had at the time, and I bought a smaller car and spent another bunch of money on sending out the more two bookers. And the first place that ever really
Boris,
hired
if
me,
you could, sorry to interrupt. If you could just refresh your browser for me, your connection's gone really choppy and I've just lost your feed. But yeah, if you just refresh your browser for me, and it should come straight back in again. There we go. We always get some solar flares in Quebec. Brilliant. So hopefully Boris will connect back in again. Sometimes these things happen. It's the joys of being live. And guys, what absolute amazing tips and information that Boris is dropping for us as well. So I'm just waiting for Boris to reconnect. I can see he is here now as well. Just wait till I see his face appear. Roy Miller says booked. That's brilliant. I can see, but I can't see his face yet. It was always, so Richard says solar flares in Quebec. I know when Richard was on, it was his street had terrible internet. So it's I'm just going to boot Boris out again, and hopefully we should be able to get him in. Whilst we're waiting for that, I shall bring this up as well. This is anything you can do anything. This was Boris's book that is available on Amazon as well. Please do purchase that and show him lots of support. He is one of the top motivational speakers, as well as a hypnotist as well, and an author. So do check out that book. There is a link that will appear to that in the comment section. There we go. I'm just waiting for Boris to reappear now, and hopefully all will be good. Andre is saying, tips to shorten trance level during a show, not for TV. This is looking promising. Let's see if we've got Boris back. And we have Boris back. There we go. We have got you back, Boris. All is well. Say hello.
I've been clicking and clicking until I'm back.
There we go. Fantastic. Yeah, Andre was saying that tips to shorten trance level during a show, not for TV, during an actual gig.
Repeat that, please.
Yeah, Andre was asking tips to shorten the time to put them into trance on a gig, not just for TV.
One thing that one word, and I started talking about this. I don't know what you guys have heard, but the word is edit. And over the experience, from the beginning of me getting on stage to the time when people are hypnotized is usually no more than 10 minutes and 36 seconds, 38 seconds, I think. That's the length of the song that I use as a background track, and probably about 2-3 minutes inviting the volunteers up. So that should tell you. And I use progressive relaxation most times rather than the instant inductions. I just don't find on a stage as exciting of a presentation when people are lying all over the place. I enjoy the process being seen. To me, that's always been the case. And not to say that there's anything wrong with it. It's just my style tends to be more as an ongoing and ongoing process rather than being, look at this, how powerful I am. Boom. You learn how to click your fingers. But with the getting people on stage faster, the words are edit and edit and edit to the point where every word has so much more meaning. How to speak that way as well. You tend to figure out how to get people to understand you without having to rephrase it, which a lot of times with hypnosis you have to.
And it's by looking back, over your show, you can see where the unnecessary language was. Going back to the instant inductions you're on about, I'm a big fan of making the induction part of the entertainment. But early doors, as you know, when you're eager, when you're young, I always wanted to do instants. And it was only when I realized that once you've got more than so many people on stage, doing instant inductions on all these people actually takes longer than a progressive kind of group induction.
Because you have to deepen it as well. And the deepening takes a lot longer than the actual induction itself. So, and to me, the instant induction is never instant. There's still a precursor of what you're trying to explain to the people anyway. And instant, even though it starts from whenever they're going to the performance. But what if they don't know that you're performing? I do a lot of corporates these days where some of them don't even care that there's a show going on here. They're just there because they have to be. So, there's a hypnotist. Okay, fine. I'll see what I can do. And that a lot of times, the element of surprise works for you rather than against you. Many hypnotists will say, I don't want to be a performer that's not announced. Tell everybody. I tell them that, but people don't always listen. So you have to deal with it. How can you impress an audience without having to get to know that a hypnotist is coming? A hypnotist could be a surprise, right? The many hypnotists will tell you, I don't want to be surprised. Doesn't bother me.
Oh, brilliant. I was going to say, do you have a tip for fellow hypnotists watching this for exactly that moment? Because I know it's happened to me many times. And it is always that feeling when you get there and they go, we've not told the guests. And at that moment, I do always kind of go.
For me, it's always been fearlessness, bravado. I know that I'm going to succeed whether you guys like it or not. So it's the audience smells fear. So the more you are afraid of not delivering, the more it becomes something that they can pick up to me, when I get on stage, you're gonna love this whether you like it or not, and you're gonna love it along with me because we're gonna work together,
Yeah.
and it becomes something worthwhile rather than, oh my goodness. And a lot of times I will listen to the level of the audience before the show, right? If they're chatty and loud, you know that they're going to be excited to see you and excited for a performance, in comparison to whether the ambience is somber, and you'll get a lot of wonderful things like, I'm just going back from my memory. The introduction is, we had a really bad year, and I know you guys need entertainment, so here it is.
Yeah.
Where how do you deliver from for me, that's just a bigger challenge. If you can take it from this point to this point, that's even better than taking them from below ground and bring them up to the same point. So it's just a fun way of dealing with it. Okay, the CEO does not like what they delivered, and a lot of you are going to lose your jobs today, but here's a way to be entertained. So it's just a matter of not letting anything affect your performance and
Yeah.
being there 100% all the time.
I think you're absolutely right. Kind of being vulnerable on stage. I know from shows I've done, if I go on that stage with that little bit of fear, the audience just, they pick up on it unconsciously, and it affects my performance. So yeah, that what you said there about kind of being fearless and going out there and knowing that you're going to do well and knowing that they're going to love you, that mindset is perfect.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
not being afraid. I did, if you're familiar with the Maury Povich show, I was on the show dealing with people with exotic and unusual fears. And specifically, they would, the way the show is structured is a formula where they film everything of what people are terrified of, and bring me on, here you go, fix them. So my job is whatever they're terrified of, by the end of the show they have to handle. And
Yeah.
they're really eccentric, everything from chicken cotton balls, foam, um, just crabs, dogs, so you name it. But one thing that I learned from that is fear is learned and
Mm.
passed on, whether by authority figures or anybody else. And that fear is what guides people, whether it's your mother, whether it's society. So when I bring in the same attitude, they put me on that show, like you were asking before, what does TV do? I don't uh, freeze on camera. I know the angles, and that's the only reason why I'm on that show and not another hypnotist that would do
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. So when they brought me on, they knew that I would deliver, and went through quite an extensive search to be able to do that. But for me, it just added another little facet, because that's not what I do. I'm not a hypnotherapist that brings people into an office. I'm a performer. And
Yeah.
on TV, they want a performer, and that's the only reason for that. So even the question before was, how do you get on TV? I just did enough TV appearances that somebody noticed. And in that world, if you haven't done enough, they don't want you. It's almost a copycat world where he delivered over there. Well, we can give him a chance here.
Yeah. So yeah, Natasha Stanley says, so is it true that humans are born with only two fears, falling and loud noises?
No. Fear of public speaking is another one. Jerry Seinfeld has an amazing line. Fear of public speaking is number one of all of the fears. And so if you're at a funeral, you'd rather be in a casket than doing the eulogy. So
Yes.
that to me was one of the funniest lines because it actually hits home.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I also ask us, so Andre says, thanks for the edit clarity. I also ask people, if you were to recommend two books, and you mentioned early on that you are a good book reader. If you were to recommend two books about stage hypnosis or the business of hypnosis to people watching, what would those two books be?
On stage hypnosis, the one that I liked a lot, even though it's completely antiquated at this point in time, is by Orman McGill, which I'm sure you are familiar with as the Encyclopedia of Stage Hypnosis.
Yes.
Uh,
In fact, you know what? There's a link just gone up for it there.
Amazing.
It's, I mean, for me, it's weird. I mean, it's my kind of go-to, everybody's go-to book. And it's through the years that I've performed. When I was first performing, I got so much from it. And then a few years later, I went back to it and interpreted it completely differently. And now
right.
It's more of a, I look at it and I think, I don't think that would work now, but I think that's just because my style has changed, if you know what I mean. But I think it's such, it is an encyclopedia of modern stage hypnosis. So yeah.
Right, which was familiar. You had my friend Tom Silver on a little while ago who knew Orman McGill, and the few stories that I hear from him on this subject. But Orman was a magician first, who went and did hypnosis, but his way of sometimes they don't quite equate because people don't know magic and hypnosis. I actually stopped doing. I did magic earlier on, more mental effects, when I didn't have enough material. Then I amassed some material, so I dropped the magical part. But they're fairly well related. It's getting the audience on your side and showing them something that would wow them, and that's what you're looking for. Now, Orman has a whole bunch of different routines. That's why I meant as far as antiquated. As the world changes, you end up changing the routines, changing the. I infused music into the routines earlier on, which was unheard of. What do you mean? A musical show? Nobody else uses music. Right. This is a long time ago. So just a matter of right now, I see most hypnotists will have some kind of a musical setup, and they control it remotely. Some Bluetooth, some radio frequency, right? They will have different remotes in their pockets, hands, and the right song comes on at the right time to create that proper mood. So that's what I'm looking for as far as I'm concerned. So as stuff changes, the books will become a little bit outdated.
Yeah. So Natasha just said, I often say this, not publicly, but it's out there now. Grant always says that hypnotists perform real magic, magicians perform tricks.
True. Yet there's a difference between a performer who can grab an audience and just a performer. There's some kind of a beauty in watching a person who can take an audience into the palm of their hand and lead them. I always said that it's like Gulliver. You take the reins and you grab it and you go along with the audience. If they're willing to go with you, oh, what a magical moment that is.
Yeah. It's weird how, and it is about a performance. I think I'm not a magician, but like Miser's Dream, Penn and Teller did Miser's Dream, which is it's the 50p or the coin behind the ear, probably the oldest trick in the book. Everybody's weird uncle knows it. I remember seeing that performed, and it was magical. And even though you know exactly what's happening, you know where the trick is, you know the sleight of hand, but the way it was delivered was a true performance. So yeah, absolutely. And your second book recommendation.
The second book recommendation, I would stick with The Search for Bitey Murphy. It created the passion that hasn't stopped to this day. And I really mean that. It just, at first, I did not believe that something could control you. And then you figure out that everything from language, because all I am literally is a wordsmith that knows how to create an image in a person's mind to the point where that image becomes reality. And I don't claim to have anything more than passion and creativity. So once you figure that out, you are secondary as a performer in a comedy hypnosis show to your people. And it's your job to make them shine. And that's what I do. And earlier on, I found an added little bonus trick that people tend to gravitate towards. I made it motivational and inspirational as well. So here's a funny routine, but here's what you learned from it. So I wrote a book. The title of this book is "You Can Do Anything," and the matter of the book is cool. The title stands for exactly what I did, because when people said you can't, I did, and it's a matter of creating that right picture, that right goal, right uh, something that you strive for, and once a person has that ability. A lot of times you don't even see it when it's right in front of you. So I just showed people this is something funny that you're watching, but look what you learned from it and take it home with you. And the big plus about being in the business this long is I now get to meet their kids. And sometimes even the kids of the kids to see where people remember that somebody remembers you from a performance way back when I was a young kid. I remember you, but by the way, this one is mine. Hey, how are you, sir? Right? It's kind of funny where you create a memory, you create something that they link you where there was a path that they could have taken and they took the proper path for them, which made them successful or made them happy, whatever else that might be.
There you go. And Richard Cole says, where do you see yourself in 15 years?
Are you kidding, Richard? I'm trying to compete with you. No, I'll still be doing this. And I've always believed, talking about competing, I never competed. There's no competition. There's plenty of work out there. Your job has always been to get it. And there's parallel thoughts, parallel universes, parallel ideas. We cannot all be in the same place at the same time. So when somebody works that date, if that date is not available, I'll make a phone call to others, and people will know I'm not available. Are you available? Can you make this happen? And people do the same to me, and it's all a matter of networking. But if you do a great job,
I can testify to that as well. You sent me a job this week that was a little bit out of my jurisdiction, so I passed that on to another hypnotist, Andy Venning, who's a great Australian hypnotist.
Well, Grant and I have seen each other's names from way back when links were exchanged on Google to get you better traffic. So I remember you having a list of the hypnotists in different countries. So I can completely relate in seeing who you were, seeing who the other hypnotists are and what they're doing. And I would actually visit that page specifically to find, I need somebody in this neighborhood. How can I pass something along?
I mean, it is where we are, even though there's a few of us, we are a small community. And it is about, I always kind of say this as well about the competition. You know, my competition and your competition isn't another hypnotist. It's a different type of performer. It's a violinist, an opera singer, a juggler. It's something else. So we have got to, you know, what I want is, you know, good stage hypnotists creating good shows, because then more people want to go see more stage hypnotists. So
right.
So Andre Chalot says, did the CNE contact you, or did you reach out to them to get that gig a few years ago?
I have been performing at CNE for a long time. A few years ago was one of the last of many. CNE initially was gotten by an agent, and I did well. Some of the CNE, for those of you that are not familiar, is the Canadian National Exhibition, which is the fair in Toronto. There's two of them, the Canadian National and the Western one out in Vancouver. There's PNE, Pacific National Exhibition. There's two really big ones, no, three, one, two, three, four. There's many more. I didn't perform in all of them, but it was a great thing. The first time in there, also 3 shows a day. And those 3 shows a day ended up being more audiences that I have ever imagined that would stop and watch the show for an hour at a time. And it was in the biggest open space available. They put a center on the end of it right next to the food building. and that's where I was. And they kept inviting me year after year afterwards. And one of the greatest things that happened at the last one is I got contacted by a gentleman. I want to propose on your stage.
Wow.
Is it okay? Maybe we'll do it after the show. So I created a routine, and that's online now. That I made him pretend that he was hypnotized, and she was completely oblivious to it.
Brilliant.
And the way it was, well, some people don't believe that hypnosis is real, but we'll do an instant induction. And I talked about it, and you're hypnotized. Oh, so how long have you been together? 6 years? Well, you are going to propose to her now. Right. That was a whole thing that I wrote, but I tipped off the media at the time. So we actually invited TV crews, and they caught that on film. So that got that evening's news, and at the same time got them a great tape, which they almost got along with me on the Jenner show over that one.
Brilliant. And I wonder if it could be used as a defense by a divorce lawyer later on.
Yeah, no, they've been together for 6 years, had a kid already, but we're not married. So that was the first question. And he hasn't proposed yet. Well, he's doing it now.
Yeah, Richard Cole has very kindly just put a link up to that video clip in the comment section as well. So do check that out, and do subscribe to Boris's YouTube channel as well. Boris, it has been absolutely fantastic to have you on. If you could just add, a final question is, if you were to give a stage hypnotist, a budding stage hypnotist, or a hypnotherapist that's wanting to go into stage and performance, one tip, one golden nugget of information, what would that be?
Do what I did. Be fearless.
Yeah.
To this day, will still, like I said, you were talking about all of the accolades, or all of the different things that came my way. You're not seeing the 99 little tiny details that did not make it. It's one that feels amazing, and concentrate on those. That's I'll tell you the perfect example. A few years back, I decided that I probably should have a TV special, and called up the main guy at Comedy Central, which is the comedy channel in the US, that I should get, and what are the different ways of going about it. And I have a really beautiful show that you guys should have on your channel, only to be contacted by the lawyers that I should probably be using the proper channels to do that. So it's be fearless. Yeah. Ask for the world. That's the only way to do, and believe in your abilities. A lot of times people don't. When I did not believe in my abilities, I know what the difference was in comparison to now. You have the knowledge, then use that knowledge, and don't question the little details. It's really what it's all about. By the way, you saw the website. Feel free to email me. I answer questions. I'm completely approachable. Now I have a little bit more time until I get back on the road. Yeah. But we are all in the same boat. I always envy people who have chosen a specific path. If you are passionate about something, follow that passion. Yeah. I dream, and why shouldn't everybody else? Make them become a reality.
Fantastic. Boris, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Guys, please do check out his social media. Do send him emails, show him lots of love. My stats show me that when people watch this show, about 70% of the people watching it are not subscribed to the channel when they're watching it on the replay. So if you're watching this on replay, please do subscribe and hit that bell notification, and then you're kept up to date for all future shows as well. Lots of love coming in. There we go. Another awesome interview. Roy Miller saying, thanks, Boris. Really enjoyed it. Great information. Andre saying, please have him back again. Lots more info to provide. Everybody loves you, Boris. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I love what I do. And that's the only thing that has always driven me. And if you have that passion, mine has not stopped. I can't say that enough. It's the beauty that you bring up the subject, I light up.
Fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Great to touch base with you again, and hopefully
Thank
see you
you.
again soon. Take
Right.
care. Good luck with any future shows coming on. Enjoy this short break that you've got until shows start again. And yeah, I shall send you a link to this as well, Boris. And yeah, again, lots of comments, lots of people that absolutely found you fascinating and informative as well. Thank you very much, Boris.